Well, it's Labor Day weekend here in central Indiana, and I'm out on my property getting ready to do something that would on the surface seem very counterintuitive. I'm getting ready to disc up and replant this particular field right here of real pretty soybeans, and a second one that I have on the next ridge over. And those of you guys that can relate to the situation I have here is the open areas that I have access to plant are relatively small, so they're very valuable to me. And when you assess your situation of how your summer annuals fared and what condition they are going into the fall season, and whether or not you let those ride out and continue to produce, hopefully enough, or you weigh out your options of reworking them and replanting them in a greens and grain mix, which I always love to do. I've had to come to the point, and this is the weekend, of making the decision: should I let these soybeans ride it out, or should I go ahead and bring the tractor back out and the equipment and take the time, cost, and expense of replanting this field and the other small one into a cereal grain and brassica mix. All right, so this is the far back plot that we call the north plot, the biggest of the three that I was telling you about today, and it's right at 2 acres. And you can see I'm out here and I'm up to my waist in soybeans across the entire field. So obviously this was a deciding factor in determining whether or not to turn over those 2 smaller ones. This field is absolutely flush full of incredible browse that's still available. That would make anybody happy right there. 2 acres of beans in the middle of the timber. That's great, great stuff. Thursday night, October the 14th. I'm headed back into the north soybean plot. It's about 2 acres. Got a north wind, cold front coming in. Actually, cold front arrived yesterday. Got a new setup on the south side of the field. So, never know, hoping for the best. It's early October, but anytime you get these cold fronts like this, you never know what can happen. Let's go see. Stepped out across the field, the north side, and I was getting the camera on him and focusing manually, and I looked up, and right where the little buck was standing, his bent brow, my 4-year-old 10-footer, is out in the beans right now, 80 yards away, feeding. Wind's in my face. Who knows? This might work out. Maybe. Knock on. He turned around and walked back to the edge of the timber. You see it in the film. He made a scrape, thrashed the trees, and pawed the ground and urinated on his hocks, on his tarsals. And I thought for sure, you know, he's an old buck, he's gonna go back in the timber. And he didn't. He stayed out on the edge, which was surprising to me too. But then off camera, because he was behind some beech tree leaves and I shut the camera down, I grunted at him. And he responded very, very positively. At first, he just turned and looked and stared my direction. I did it again, soft grunt, pointing the barrel down towards the ground below the stand. And he got so aggravated that he began to thrash soybean stalks. It's the first time I've ever seen it. He was thrashing soybean stalks like he was thrashing trees. And he'd smack him and then he'd paw the ground and he'd look my way like, basically, young punk, you're gonna get your butt kicked if you keep that up. Man. I just killed him. I just grunted him 115 yards across his food plot and pulled him into right here at 15 yards and shot him broadside. And he just fell right there. Holy crap. I'm shaking like a son of a bug. Oh, thank you, Lord Jesus. Holy smokes. That's unreal. I can't believe it happened. That's the top deer on my hit list. A 4.5-year-old. Call him bent brow. His one brow time's got a bend on the top of it. And, oh my gosh, he pops out over there at 6 o'clock. Cold front, north wind at his back. I grunted at him. He did not like it. He was over there racking beans and making a scrape in the field. You couldn't see it because the leaves are in the way. I couldn't get that. But he just walked over here, stepped in the timber at this trail, and I shot him right there. I think I got it on video. I said before, it's hard to do this when you're by yourself and you're hunting with a bow and you're trying to get the camera and anticipate where he's going to stop and get that bow. My hand was shaking so bad I could barely get the release on the loop and pulled it back. I thought he was going to get through that opening before I could get the release on and get the bow pulled back, worrying about the camera so much. All right. Can you hear me? Mm-hmm. Is it bouncing?
Yep.
We rolling?
Yep.
Well, it's the next morning, and Casey was gracious enough to drive over from Illinois last night all the way over to my camp after hearing the good news that I got my buck. I went in last night for the recovery, and it's getting a little late. I don't have any good lighting for camera work, plus I was by myself, which doesn't make for anything good to show you guys. So we got him out this morning in the daylight here, and Casey's here to help me take some nice pictures, and he brought me over some brand new Plithel gear. Very impressive. Thank you very much, sir. This is nice and comfortable. And we're gonna walk down here in the timber and take a look at him, and I'm still having cloud 9 experience right now, and hard to believe that early October like this, got a mature 4-year-old buck on the ground with archery gear. I love it, man. This is a 4-year-old buck that I've got a lot of pictures of on the property this year, and I know it's kind of a cheesy name, but I was calling him Bent Brow because of that very distinguishable brow tine tip bend, and all the photographs that I've got of him this year. He was consistently with a 3-year-old 8-pointer that we called Shadow, just because he was with Bent Brow in literally every view. I did notice in the last week or two that they were separated, just obviously with testosterone levels rising. Big boy here wasn't going to tolerate Shadow trailing around with him as much, but they were using that big soybean plot there, my north big plot, very regularly as a great food source, hidden away up in the timber. But man, and I did mess up on the date last night. I had my dates wrong. I said it was October the 14th. Yesterday was October the 13th, and I had a moment there where I had a memory come back to me. The date just kind of clicked in my mind. October the 13th, 1996 was the earliest date that I'd ever killed a mature buck with a bow. And it was last night in my mind. It shows you how old I'm getting. I said, man, that's been 10 years ago that I shot that buck I called Bubba. No, Tom, it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I'm telling on my age, and I'm 50 years old this year, that I killed a nice mature. And Bubba was a 4.5-year-old 10-pointer, and Bent Brow's a 4-year-old 10-pointer, and not quite as high of a scoring of buck as Bubba, but on these small properties that we have and have the you know, blessed to be able to own and manage. You know, a top-end deer is judged by its age class, and Bent Brow is a 4-year-old. I'm absolutely solidly positive about that. And you know, in the photographs, we thought maybe he might push 150, but he's probably in the low 40s, which it's not all about score. For us, when I say us, my daughters and I, it's about age and maturity, and the pleasure of seeing a deer that you know that you had a part in growing and getting to this size, and having him on the property and having the ability to pursue him. And once in a great while it clicks, and last night it clicked. Well, last night was the maiden voyage with my 4th Arrow camera arm, and man, I am really impressed with it. It was solid as can be on the tree, leveled out easy, and that shoulder is so cool because of the ball shape on it. I can get that arm out there extended on any size or shaped tree and level it up, and rock solid, quiet, packs easy, super light. This is going to be on my backpack from now on.
There's a place I go, tucked back in the